guys, so Zhiyun have released a couple of interesting lights recently, with this one here, the Fiveray F100, being one that kind of piqued my interest a bit. I do have a bit of a soft spot for tube lights and now light sticks or stick lights as well, apparently. So this light here can do 100 watts. It's also a BiColor light that does RGB, and it's pretty much a perfect little compact light for your small YouTube studio, for video calls, content creators, and your average kind of run and gun video shooter that wants to have a small but powerful light in their camera bag. For full transparency, Zhiyun did send this light out to me to be reviewed, and I think I get to keep the light once the review is done, right, Zhiyun? If not, then I'm sorry. I lost it. Now, jokes aside, they're not paying me to make this video, they're not paying me to only say nice things about this light, so I'm not gonna. Okay, so let's go over some specs. First of all, size-wise, we're looking at about 50 centimeters by 4.6 by 4.7 centimeters. Down here at the bottom, we have our standard 1/4-20 mounting thread. On this side here, we have a little rubber flap, and behind the flap, there's our DC and USB-C charging port. Zhiyun recommends at least 25 watt power delivery for charging the batteries on the light. Now, if you want to go ahead and charge while also using the light, they recommend at least 65 watt power delivery. It could be a brick or power bank, what have you. Back here, we have our mode dial where we can access all the different features and change our parameters. It also kind of works as a D-pad where you have up for the boost mode, left for your CCT mode, right for your lighting effects, and if you press down, you will access the RGB mode. And you can double tap the power button here on the mode dial to cycle between 0, 50 and 100% on whatever parameter you're currently selected. Now, when it comes to weight, this light it's slightly heavier than you would expect. It comes in at about 950 grams or roughly 2 pounds. But those 950 grams will make a lot of sense once we get to the actual battery life on this bad boy. And the last thing I want to talk about now when it comes to specs are the fans that you can see here on the back of the light. I'm not sure how Zhiyun managed to do this, but they're virtually 100% quiet. You can kind of hear them if you put the light right up to your ear like this. So if you want to use this light as tabletop key light for things like video calls or YouTube videos or streaming, then my guess is that you won't have any issues with fan noise getting into your audio. The F100 comes in this pretty stylish carrying case along with a couple of accessories. The one that I've used the most with this light is the barn doors, which kind of helps you to shape the light a bit if you want to use it as a key light. It also helps you to control some of the spill if you want to have even more control over the spill and where the light is going. They've also included a little grid that kind of velcros onto the light. And this is great if you want to do like accent lights or overhead lights and you don't want to have any spill on the background behind you. Yeah, that's normally where backgrounds are, I think. The last piece they included here is this thing here, which is a little diffusion accessory that goes over the barn doors like this. And it can be a bit tricky to mount at times. I would recommend getting a bigger diffuser if you're planning on using this as your key light in a studio setup. Okay, so here's the F100 behind this big piece of diffusion here, and you can also see my bright yellow walls that I have paint down there. It's been too cold here in the studio to paint the walls, so. But just to give you an example, here's what it looks like with the included little diffusion thing. And here's what it looks like if you put it through a big piece of diffusion. Now, before we head over to the complaints department, I want to talk about the boost mode and the battery life. Inside the F100, there's 6 2600 milliamp batteries, which is giving us a lot of juice. At a 10 watt output, we're looking at a battery time of about 5 hours and 40 minutes. And just hold there for a second. So if we put this into perspective, let's say if we compare it to a Galaxy Steel 30, which outputs about 8 watts and usually gives you about 60 minutes at full brightness. We get 10 watts at 5 hours and 40 minutes with this light, which is kind of crazy. When it comes to color accuracy, sadly I don't have a great way of measuring color accuracy. What I can say is that I've been more than happy with the quality of light. In a previous video that I did, I replaced my usual key light here in the studio with the F100, and I actually think the F100 looked better than my normal key light. And now let's talk about the boost mode. If you're not that familiar with the workings of BiColor lights, there's normally at least 2 sets of different chips. You have your warmer chips for things like tungsten light, and you have your colder or white chips for daylight and even colder lights. Normally these different colored chips meet up at about 4000 Kelvin. That's where you see the highest output on most BiColor lights. And that's also where you will have those 100 watts on the F100. So if you're planning on using the boost mode on this light, just remember to set your camera white balance to 4000 Kelvin and you should be good to go. Like I was saying in the beginning of this video, Zhiyun haven't paid me to only say nice things about this light. The first little complaint of mine is the cable length on the DC power supply. There's 2 versions. You can get the standard and you can get the combo pack, which also comes with a DC power unit. The cable that runs from the wall to the brick is fine. It's detachable, so you can replace it and put an even longer cable there if you want to. The problem is the one that goes from the brick to the actual light. Whenever I put this light up on a light stand, the brick ends up dangling in the air, and that puts some unnecessary stress on the DC port here, which, you know, in time may cause it to break or something. The second thing, which is kind of annoying, is something we discovered a couple of days ago when we used the F100 out on a shoot, and we wanted to place the light down on its back like this. We discovered that the weight of the batteries down here in the handle kept pressing down the function wheel here on the back and randomly changing the mode. And one more thing that I realized on that very same shoot is how much I want Zhiyun to be done with the app for this light. Apps are fantastic, especially for solo operators like me. So I just wanted to wrap up with the things that I like and the kind of strong points of this light. Build quality seems great. It's mainly made out of plastic, which I think is a good choice by Zhiyun instead of going with something like cast iron or something less practical. The fans, like I said, they're super quiet, so I don't think you will have any issues placing this fairly close to a microphone. If you have any questions, let me know below and I'll be happy to answer those. Maybe we'll do a follow-up video when we get the app to see what the app can do and all that. Anyway, thank you for watching and I hope to see you in the next one. Okay, bye!